on the road with his wife and not here. And he did let me know he would not be here the next time I'm here either. I'm going to honor a request that he made of me, which is just to give a recap of a message that I gave maybe a month ago or so, and it so happened that I did not bring a camera, and Brother Bob wasn't here to record, so he said, would you please just do a recap on that at some point? So I'm going to give a recap on it today, because it's what's dropping down into my brain. And that message was called The Name of God. And the scripture that the name of God is taken from is a scripture where Moses is going up to the top of the mountain. And the mountain in scripture is considered the place where God lives. And physically, people would go up physical mountains to go to the top, believing that a physical God or a formed God would be at the top of the mountain. And so Moses goes to the top of the mountain, and when he gets to a clearing at the top, he encounters a bush that is burning, and yet is not being consumed. And he thinks that's curious, so he goes closer and says, I've seen bushes on fire before, but they disintegrate. They're consumed by the fire, and this bush is not being consumed. So he went to the vicinity of the bush, and he hears a voice out of the center of this burning bush, and the voice says, Moses, take off your shoes, because the ground you're standing on is holy ground. And Moses bends down and he takes his sandals off. I want to tell you what just that much so far has to do with you. It's not really, as far as we're concerned, a story about a physical mountain in a place far away in a time long ago. The mountain that we are climbing up is a mountain of consciousness. We're rising to the highest level of consciousness possible for us to achieve in any given moment, given the circumstances of that time. So for each of us to go to the mountain or to the meeting place with God is simply to raise your consciousness to the highest level possible for you in that particular time, given those particular circumstances. We know that from the four agreements, that one of the agreements we're asked to make is that we will always do our best, and that our best will be different at different times. My best was different before my mom died than it was the week after she died. I've had experiences in my own life of such devastation that the best I could do was to crawl out of bed and go to the bathroom and try to put some food in me and make it through the day. It was the best I could do given those circumstances of my life. And it compared to other moments in my life like, what's wrong with this dude? What's he doing? Where's his joy? Where's the pep in his step? So what if his significant other died? So what if his brother just died? So what if his mom just died? So what if his sister died? So what if all of his finances somehow got gone? Like, he should have pep in his step. He should be skipping. He just lost one person. He's got all the others. But let me tell you, during that period, the best I could do was crawl out of bed and go to the bathroom and try to eat something and crawl back into the bed. It was the best I could do given those circumstances. And so we all have moments in our life where it might look like our best isn't much. But as long as we know it's our best, that's all that's required of us. Timothy's daughter, she's into soccer. They just got started. They've had 2 games. Their team lost both games. She came home sad about the team losing both games. I just look at her and go, Sienna, did you give your best to this game? Yes, I did, Baba. Well, then that's all that matters. You gave your best, And that's the real game for you. And you won that game today because you gave your best. So to go to the height of the mountain, the meeting place with God, is to go to the highest possible level of consciousness and demonstration that you can possibly get to given the circumstances of that moment. Your best is different on the day you get married than on the day you file for divorce. It's different on the day when you fall in love and find a new sweetheart than it is on the day when your sweetheart says, I've fallen for another. Your best changes given circumstances, but only you know and can know whether or not you are rising to the highest possible place in consciousness and demonstration that is available for you to get to in any given moment. So that's Moses going to the top of the mountain. A voice speaking from inside a bush that is burning and yet not consumed, that says, take off your shoes because you are standing on holy ground. That is the God in you, that is the Spirit of you telling you that wherever you are is holy ground. And it's not holy because it's called a church, or it's called an ashram, or it's called a temple, or it's called a synagogue. It's not holy because it's a retreat center, or a yoga center, or a circle of stone. It's holy because you're there. Because you are the holiness of God. That you are the child of God. And because you're holy, everywhere you are is holy. When that voice said, take off your shoes, it's telling us, take off your own earthly understanding. So many times we're standing in our earthly understanding of things. And your earthly understanding of things can't really get you anywhere. It's an intellectual process. We don't need another intellectual process. We need a heart chakra opening process. So we're being reminded, don't stand on the evidence of the things of this world. Take off your shoes and stand in your own holiness. And what about the bush that's burning, yet not consumed? Well, that's you too. So many times in our lives, we go through stuff. We go through financial stuff. We go through relational stuff. We go through emotional challenges. We go through financial challenges. We go through mental challenges. We go through physical challenges. And sometimes it looks like we might not make it through. We might die from this heartbreak. We might be completely lost given this financial crisis. You are a burning bush that cannot be consumed. What is going on when fire is burning and yet something isn't being consumed? What's going on is the purification process. I believe that what's going on with my body right now is nothing more or less, regardless of the name they give it, than a purification process. I've been through many, and so have you. You have trekked through the valley of the shadow of death more times than you can count, and mercifully more times than you can even remember. God's grace has not let you remember all of the times you have been seemingly dead and have been raised again to new life. You've been dead before, and you have always risen from the dead. When they mine gold, and they get that gold out of the mines, it's not pure. It's got all these other ores stuck to it. They have to take that gold with all this other stuff that isn't gold stuck to it, and they have to set it to a fire. And the fire has to be hot. And I was thinking, if I was a hunk of gold and they put the amount of heat to me as they put to real gold, I'd be going, what are these people, crazy? They're trying to burn me alive? What's going on here? What is life doing? Well, what's happening is that all the other metals are getting melted away, and you are left with pure gold. That's what I want you to remember about yourself, that you are being purified because who you really are is pure gold, and you've got some other metals clinging to you. Some of these metals are sadness, feelings of isolation, feelings of upset and anger, feelings of the unfairness of the world, bemoaning our early childhood experiences. I know some guys that are so sad that their fathers were never in their lives, and they're sitting right next to other guys who are so sad that their dad stayed in their life. They wish he had left. All of us are sitting in any given room. There's somebody sitting thinking, I would be so happy if God would send me a significant other. That's what I need to bring my life joy. And that person is sitting right next to somebody who's thinking, I would be so happy if God would get rid of my significant other. They are holding me down and keeping me back. If God would just take them away, I could be a wondrous self. It's stuff that's sticking to the gold that needs to be purified. Some of my most painful life experiences have been some of the most purifying experiences of my life. I was a burning bush that wasn't consumed. And that's what you are. And that's what everyone is. The voice speaks out of the bush. The children of Israel are in captivity in Egypt. And there's Moses standing there right before a reflection of his own holy self, with his shoes no longer on his feet, no longer standing in his own human understanding of what life means, who God is, what are other people, what is the purpose of life. He is standing barefoot on the holy ground that is holy because he's standing there. And the voice says, Moses, I want you to go to Egypt and I want you to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses did what I've done when God gives me an instruction. And God says to me, your mission, Carlos, should you choose to accept it, is to walk on through the valley of the shadow of death and to use everything that occurs to you as an excuse to love more, to love your Creator more, to love yourself more, and to love all of creation more. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to quit pretending you're an isolated human being disconnected from the Creator and all of creation. And I say, well, that's an impossible mission. And God says, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to be all that you can be. And with God, what looks impossible is quite possible. So Moses says to God, you picked the wrong dude. I'm not capable of doing this. I mean, number one, you want me to be your spokesperson, and can't you see that I stutter? I'm slow of tongue. I try to get a word out of my mouth, and it takes so long to come out. And you want me to talk for you? And the voice says, if you open your mouth, I will speak through you. Took away that alibi, stripped him of that excuse. Done the same for me more times than I can count. Oh, but God, I will speak through you, Carlos. I will touch through you. I will shine through you. Don't tell me about your shadow. I will shine right through it. Don't tell me about your lack of eloquence. I will speak through you. Don't tell me your cup is half empty and you have nothing to give. I will pour through you. Your job, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses has no more excuses, but he does have another something to say to the Creator. He says, I can't just go to Pharaoh of my own authority. I can't just go to Pharaoh and say, I want you to let my people go. He's going to ask, well, who are you? Oh, who do you think you are? Coming into my palace telling me to let all my workers go? We're in the process of a building enterprise here. We've got more pyramids to go up and more roads to build. And so God says to Moses, tell them, I am has sent you. The only time in the scriptures where God tells somebody God's own name. The name of God is the most powerful name in all of the known and unknown worlds. The name of God is the beginning of all creation. Tell them, I am has sent you. I am that I am. I am that I am means I am, period. I am just because I am. That is the name of God. And you, the created of God, that's your real name too. My mom named me Carlos. God named to me, I am. The most powerful name in all the universe is your name. Your name is I am. I've learned so many things over the years, and one thing I learned is that when babies are born all over the world, and I remember that when my son was born, he slid right out crying. Wah! My daughter came out silently, and she had to be given